last section, we discussed the pre-financing stage. We'll continue this course by taking another deep dive into what happens during the pre-financing stage. But now we're going to pay close attention to how to make projects bankable. This has been on our minds and has been a very difficult topic for a number of project sponsors and promoters. They want to see their investors. They don't know whether their project is bankable or not. They are not able to discuss bankability in fluid and in clear terms. And we know it has been estimated that the African continent requires around $100 billion of investments per year between 2020 and 2050 to meet the target of infrastructure gap, according to the roadmap set by the African Development Bank. Now, many African project sponsors desire to participate in the development of infrastructure in the continent, but about 80% of them lack the capacity to demonstrate bankability of their projects. By these, we mean they are not able to attract the institutional investors or institutional lenders to their large-scale projects, even from a discussion point of view. This is why we've developed what we call the Brickstone Bankability Framework as an approach to project preparation to ensure that the requirements to make projects bankable are initiated at a very early stage of the project. Hence, we see this as a way to allow infrapreneurs to achieve bankability of their projects. And we've seen that it's difficult to initiate this without a framework. So we have what we call the Brickstone Project Bankability Framework to make this happen. And our framework is in 3 pillars. The first pillar is what we call the project predictable cash flow. The second is construction and operations. And finally, we will deal on governance. These are the 3 things that encompasses all what bankability is all about. Now, we will look at 4 major topics here. We'll start with an introduction to tell you the importance of bankability. Then we'll also look at the Brickstone Bankability Framework. In achieving bankability phase 1, which has to do with predictable cash flow, we will now look at understanding predictable cash flow and the various sectors it can be applied. We'll introduce you to offtake agreements, we'll introduce you to concession agreement, and also discuss the risk management issues with offtake and concession agreement themselves. A second pillar will be to discuss the construction, delivery, and operations. In this module, we will discuss understanding the fixed construction delivery, what it's all about. We'll also look at the life cycle of a project, which we call the construction life cycle. We'll look at different construction arrangements, as well as risk management and construction arrangements. And finally, we'll cap it up with what we mean by operations. Now, operations in that regard means the operations and maintenance of the projects, post-construction, as well as what we call the supply chain, which has to do with issues like fuel supply or other major supplies the project may have. Achieving bankability is now concluded with the 3rd leg, where we call governance and sustainability. In this 3rd part, we'll discuss understanding governance and sustainability, what governance is all about from the point of view of the project being governed properly, right from the shareholders agreement to the issues related to the operations or governance of the project company in itself, and having world-class governance structures to meet global governance and environmental standards. Then we'll move into what we call sustainability, and we'll discuss broadly on the issues that are important in sustainability. And now we'll also discuss what we call climate considerations in infrastructure projects. We believe climate cannot be left alone. Project finance and climate issues have come to a nexus now. Hence, you can't do infrastructure projects and be impacting the environment unnecessarily. There has to be strong considerations for climate. Then we'll look at issues related to the ESIA, which is called the Environmental Social Impact Assessment. We'll discuss ESG, and we'll cap it up with what is to a very foundational principle, which we call the Equator Principles. designed by the IFC. These are principles that we believe are foundational to every project promoter, every project sponsor, to be able to develop his project adequately and now build on the Equator principles and use that to develop other environmental frameworks or standards your project would need to meet. And finally, we'll discuss the issues of the UN Sustainable Development Goals and how project finance impacts that. These are the three pillars of project bankability. Remember, the first pillar is predictable cash flow, the second pillar is sustainable operations, and the final pillar is governance and sustainability. Please enjoy this session and ensure you read the case studies and complete all the quizzes.